Welcome to Demystifying IT with Bopi Dal and Sarjeet Kanungo, speaking the language of IT with innovators and pioneers that have harnessed the power of information technology.
Today I'm thrilled to have with me Kim Hales, the Senior VP of IT at NRG Energy. Kim has more than 20 years of experience in IT and is a visionary leader who is driving NRG's digital transformation by overseeing all aspects of IT, cybersecurity, and digital development for the company. Kim, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Kim, let's set the stage a bit. For folks not familiar with NRG Energy, can you tell us more about it and how you play a role as a Senior VP of IT?
It'd be my honor to do so. I've been with the company about 23 years now, and in that time, we've transformed from really a very large independent power producer, generating electricity for the United States, to a very large integrated energy provider with millions of customers for electricity and gas, including business-to-business customers. And now we've taken another pivot here to a leading essential home services company. And this is where we're focused on, making the connected future a reality through enabling smarter energy use at home automation, and protection.
Very, very interesting. Wow, 23 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, Kim, what's the biggest challenge you face as the Senior VP of IT at NRG Energy?
Sarjeet, I would say that, I have the same challenge that I think virtually all IT leaders have at most organizations, and that's really staying on top of the constantly evolving landscape of technology. This is what I call the blessing and curse of our chosen field. The privilege is to learn and become anything you want in IT because it is constantly evolving. I myself started at a customer help desk at a software company and, then became a QA analyst and then became a developer and, went into team management and project management and then cybersecurity, and then eventually divisional leadership, and then have the honor of serving as, the head of IT. But the flip side of that, of course, is that you have to keep learning. And then ultimately, all of this translates into the real challenge, which is leveraging this ever-evolving landscape to create value for your company, right? Your job is to be the strategic partner that can help your company improve business operations or streamline processes and, enhance customer experiences.
Very interesting. Driving value. I love that phrase. So you talk about driving digital transformation for your business. What does that mean to you?
I think we can all agree that digital transformation can mean a lot of things to different people. For us at NRG, it really means the implementation of technology, processes, and platforms, again, to drive that business value. And I think like many others, this has involved, really a number of different programs. As we grew and focused on our retail customers, that growth led to acquisition of other retail brands. And this meant that we had a fair bit of, disparate technology. Some would call it technical debt, but what we ended up doing was focusing on driving value with our what we called internally like Digital 3.0. One of the first pillars of that program was consolidation of all of that disparate web architecture to a cloud native microservice core. IT people will hear this and understand the reason you would do that, right? It's to reduce costs, reduce maintenance, increase that efficiency, increase scalability, and resilience. Those are all great. But, when we talk to the business, I try to lead with the fact that that's going to increase speed to market for new products and features and innovations across all of our brands.
So the sounds like you were doing something as a technical person, but how you translate to your business folks to articulate value, you have to acquire something different, not necessarily a technical skill. How did you do that?
I mean, I think that's an incredibly important skill as a head of IT is doing that translation of technology to business value. I think that'll probably be a theme of this podcast, but being able to say, while I'm excited about containers and Kubernetes and things like that, that doesn't really excite our retail leadership, right? What they really want to hear is how does that translate into better service for our customers, right? How does that translate into being able to roll these products out quicker than we did before, more continuously than we did before? If you go back several years, right, moving from, kind of the traditional waterfall where we had, 8 deployments a year to now we've got hundreds, right? I think the last count was, well over, 900 deployments in a year, many of which, don't require outages anymore, right? So, less disruption to our customers and, a faster way of getting out some really neat features and innovations. I think that's what the business really wants to hear and needs to hear. And we can certainly explain the technical aspect of it, but ultimately what is driving that business value is what is most important.
100% agree. So how do you balance the need for innovation with maintaining the stability and security of IT systems?
The age-old battle. For us here, this is really through ensuring that everyone on the IT team and the security team understand that it's everyone's jobs to move our company forward by advancing our technologies and keeping ourselves secure along the way. The digital teams that are out there, on the front lines with the websites, they don't get to point to security and say, hey, it's your job to keep us secure. They're on the front lines with their code and their architecture, and they really have that responsibility to ensure it's running securely. The security team is certainly there to advise and scan and test, but ultimately that security is the responsibility of everyone involved. And conversely, the security team doesn't get to be restrictive to the point of slowing innovation to a crawl, right? They must be active in, defining those guardrails and helping us find ways to mitigate risks to the company. One example on this, we were running some test and learn innovation teams, and we were working with some much smaller vendors, you'd consider them mom and pop shops. Our default for a new vendor is to vet them through a cybersecurity screening. Well, for small organizations, some of these didn't even really use email as a primary form of communication. This is quickly burdensome, right? And so we modified that policy to allow for just a few basic questions, and then we set a threshold that said, if this test and learn process really grows and they reach, like a threshold of 100 transactions with us, then yeah, we'll take another look at it. But what this really did is this allowed us to quickly expand that particular test and learn project, and they were able to reach their conclusions pretty quickly.
Let's stay on innovation for a bit. I'm sure like other companies, you have different departments. You have marketing, you have sales, you have customer service, and several other departments. And I'm sure each one of them have their own idea for innovation. How do you receive their ideas, and how do you decide or prioritize on what needs to be acted upon now versus later?
So we have a couple of different processes for this. We have alignment with our IT teams with each of our business divisions, home, business and services, and now with Vivint for smart home. And each of those has, really a set of priorities, a set of projects, a roadmap that they want to lay out for the year. Each of those areas has their own forms of governance to help with that prioritization. But some of that involves some newer products, newer technologies. But we also have teams at NRG that are focused on innovation in particular. And to support those teams, right, I had mentioned, a test and learn process before. That's one of the programs that was run out of that innovation team. I think we ran 4 or 5 different test and learn programs last year. And what we do for IT is, we provide leadership in order to facilitate any technology that we can help with, or facilitate handing off of technology, or working with a partner to be within our environment. And certainly, we inform the security team to make sure that we're adhering to our confidentiality and data privacy, particularly with a newer vendor that we might be using to do a test and learn scenario. So fortunately at NRG, we view innovation as not a luxury at all, but really a must-have. And we've facilitated a number of different ways for our businesses to accomplish that.
A must-have as innovation. I like it a lot.
Absolutely.
You've been a technology leader for quite some time now. In your opinion, how has the role of a CIO evolved over the years, and where do you think it's headed?
I think I view the role of CIO as kind of been 3 phases. I think in the earliest days, you had people that were general managers that didn't have an IT background, that were trying to manage IT teams. And there was a lot of friction back in those days as people were often kind of talking past each other. And then I think people understood that the role really evolved to be, kind of a technology expert. And at this stage, leadership there was leading an IT team that was doing great work, but was still quite largely a mystery to the company as a whole. But I think now people at all levels are really starting to understand that technology is a competitive driver for a company. And the CIO role is critical to helping the company understand, and leverage that wide world of technology we had talked about earlier, again, to create value for the company. With digital disruption, we have seen, and I think we will continue to see, that having a digital strategy is becoming table stakes, right? It's already evolving from what was once a possible competitive advantage to a must-have strategy. And companies really risk losing out to competition who have been able to execute on a digital strategy.
Yeah, I like it. 3 phases of development of CIO's job. I like it. I mean, I don't have to tell you, CIO's jobs is already very demanding. Do you think it's appropriate that a CIO should also take on the heaviest burden of driving digital transformation? What advice you could offer to your fellow CIOs?
The head of IT, the CIO job is, it's a team sport. The breadth and depth of technology that our teams cover is indeed really highly demanding. And I think there are many really, really good CIOs that do this extremely well. But what I would say is driving digital transformation is what separates really good from great. For people like myself who came up through technology, it's very easy to fall back to solving technical issues. It's comfortable, it's very satisfying. But to move the needle for your company, I really believe you have to build up a team that handles a lot of that breadth and depth of technology and operates it extremely well, so that you can focus yourself and your leadership team on forming and driving digital transformation to advance your company. My advice here is to understand that being strategic is your number one priority, and being purposeful about it with your time and your leadership team's time is critical. At NRG, we take our company's annual goals. We meet with the leadership teams. and they put together their decks and slides on their team strategy. They link the business goals to their team objectives. They talk about current state, future state, the gaps and how we're going to cover them, and they talk about, specific metrics we want to see currently and in the future. And then we roll that up into, an overall IT strategy. But ultimately, this is to ensure that everyone understands that everything we are doing is tied to reaching or exceeding our company's goals.
What do you think the biggest challenges facing your industry when it comes to adopting new technologies?
Here, I would say, the decarbonization of our economy, the digitization of just about everything, the hyper customized world we live in that are driving consumer behaviors. And we have consumers that are wanting more and more. With the touch of a button, you can order nearly anything, designed, produced, and delivered in exactly the way you want it. And that's a lot to keep up with. One way we see this manifesting is in the home, which today sits at an intersection of clean energy and smart technology. So recently, NRG acquired Vivint Smart Home, branching out from our core products of electricity and natural gas. But this is to bring customers really a full home ecosystem where smart controls, can help with everything from energy efficiency, to home solar. We're making energy and technology simple, so that customers can spend their time elsewhere. Again, I think technology is a really key driver to that journey.
I wholeheartedly agree with you that digitization and where you're heading with the home automation sounds very logical and strategic.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, on that note, let's take a break. But coming up in the second part of my conversation with Kim Hales, the Senior VP of IT at NRG, Kim weighs in on the potential impact of artificial intelligence.
It's certainly promising, and it certainly looks like it's something that, can really help accelerate the rate at which we are able to develop, and then ultimately drive value for the business.
This has been Demystifying IT with Bopi Dal and Sarjeet Kanungo. Connect with Bopi and Sarjeet at demystifyingit.com, where you can take a quick assessment to explore the opportunities you may be leaving on the table and learn to expand your market or create a new one by building your business foundations on technology. Demystifying IT is a production of Forbes Books.